Good afternoon, and welcome to our web seminar, ActuateOne Connects to SAP BW Data. My name is Kevin Versolvier from Actuate, and I will be hosting the web seminar today. Before I hand over to Jeff to begin his presentation, I wanted to run through a couple of housekeeping issues. Firstly, the phone will be muted for the duration of the call. Secondly, and finally, there will be time for questions at the end of the presentation. Please send your question to the host using the Q&A panel as we move through the slides, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the event. If we do not have time to answer all the questions, we'll answer them via email after the event. Thank you, and over to you, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Jeff Morris. I am VP of Product Marketing at Actuate, and with me today is Gotham Gupta from Yash Technologies. Gotham will be our primary presenter, but I wanted to set this up and set the stage for him, as this is one of the early situations where Actuate and an implementation and software development partner have joined together to create a combined solution for a particular audience. And what we ended up doing is we made an SAP-based data connector because we know that there were a number of unusual business challenges with regard to supporting SAP-based data, certainly if you're not SAP. So we recognize that SAP-centric organizations are indeed special. They often require specialized product management, specialized architectures in the API information as well as knowledge, and oftentimes it really requires SAP-specific resources in order to succeed, where certainly others try and fail or others do not. And we recognize as well that there's indeed market pressure from the customer side to be able to expand the available information that they're providing their users. That happens to be something that Actuate Technology is very, very good at. So the combination of joining SAP-based data with Actuate-centric information upon the information integration capabilities of the ActuateOne platform just seemed like a really good, appropriate marriage of technologies. So, of course, what we really needed was an organization to help us implement and overcome that first level of business challenge, needing that SAP experienced set of resources for helping solve this problem. So what we ended up creating or identifying is between Yash and BERT, the Actuate supplier of BERT, and Yash, the author of this data connector that connects the BERT-based technology to SAP. What we indeed are enjoying now is real-world SAP implementation experience, which not only includes SAP but goes well beyond SAP-centric implementations. The platform itself, of course, is strong and extensible and very flexible, and the combined solution brought to us from Yash Technologies, the developer of the specific data connection services, BERT, and the ActuateOne platform is really a very powerful platform. So what you'll end up enjoying as we continue to show this, both in PowerPoint as well as our demonstration, is some really improved reporting characteristics and analytic functions against your traditional SAP BW capabilities. And so you'll enjoy GUI-driven configuration, API-compliant connections to the SAP interfaces, yet you're able to not be locked in by neither SAP nor their subsidiaries. The connectivity is very easy to use and drive, as you'll see. It does work with both SAP Business Warehouse and R3, so congratulations to my partners at Yash for delivering the R3 data connector as well. And we're able to create and access MDX queries, perform MDX-centric exercises upon it, and as I said, it includes localization support, and the last thing here is built and supported by SAP experts, not just BERT experts, but they're also experts in the SAP-based technology as well. So with that said, I'd like to turn the floor over to Gotham Gupta from Yash to continue our discussion of the intricacies of this particular Data Connector.
Thank you, Jeff, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gotham Gupta, and I would like to take you all to the journey of integrating. And we all know how the kind of world we live in, where data is so decentralized. It's not very easy to integrate data. There are several different challenges that we come across when we are trying to do data integration with SAP and non-SAP data. There are several performance issues when we talk about large data volume, big data, and stuff. So how do we, manage those things? There are several things that we, do during our regular business, where the business processes itself is so encapsulated that we don't even understand them. So how do we, come out of those dependencies and integrate some of those things with ActuateBert and SAP BW? So moving forward, what I would like to talk about is give you a quick demo of how we can easily integrate ActuateBert with SAP BW and do some good reporting stuff, including analytics. So before we go into those details, I would like to take a minute and talk about why do we even need a connector. So primarily, the driver for us to build this connector was there was no native connectivity available through BERT, where we can integrate some of those SAP data with ActuateBert. The SAP data itself was not extendable outside of SAP, so unless you are using the BEX analyzer to analyze the SAP BW cubes, you really don't have too many options to extend the data unless you are using a different BI suite altogether, which primarily would be business objects. So if you are not using business objects and if you're not comfortable with the BEX analyzer, what are your options? You really don't have too many options. So we ended up creating this connector because we had the business drivers doing that, and we had a lot of customers who were using SAP but not able to extend the data outside of SAP. And the major challenges that you would find in the industry would be, how do we combine both SAP and non-SAP data together, and still would like to utilize a tool which gives me a flexibility to create different kinds of options for reporting, doing analytics, dashboarding, and so on. So here is the solution which we came up with, and this is what we are going to talk about today as well. So once you start using the connector, it's very easy to use. First of all, it's seamless. It integrates seamlessly with the ActuateBert environment and also with SAP as well. It also helps the developers to create complex queries using the MDX to build, and it provides a good smooth interface to build those queries. So we're going to see how quickly we can build those queries, how quickly we can create those reports and run them without even sweating ourselves. So just to give you a high-level idea about the features that we have built within this connector, it looks exactly pretty much the same as the BERT designer tool, whether it is an Eclipse BERT or an ActuateBert designers, and it gives you an GUI, a graphical user interface, which allows you to create complex multidimensional queries, expressions, and which you can run against the SAP BW cubes. And not to mention, it also gives you features like slicing, dicing, doing filtration, ordering data, and doing cross joins within the query itself, and bring back the results from SAP BW. And also, you can localize it. One of the best features that we have seen with the customers around the globe, we can localize it. So customers who are in German, using German platform localization, you can localize in German language. If you are using any other technology platform, you can localize into that particular locale. So just to give you a high-level idea about the architecture, it's very, very simple. It uses the XMLA ODA technology, and once the user sets up his environment with the ODA. It seamlessly connects into the BW environment. Once the XMLA comes into picture, all we have to do is enable the web services on the SAP side, and it will start pulling the data from SAP BW Cubes. So we'll go and quickly see a quick demo as to how we can set up the environment and create a simple report using our connector. So here is my environment where I have already set up the connector on my system. We already have deployed, and the deployment is very, very simple. You just run the setup files. It automatically deploys itself onto the environment that you are running on. And once you're all set, you can open the designer, which is the Actuate Bird Designer tool, and you can start creating the reports straight away without going to your IT or any other team for providing the support. So let's say you want to create a simple report and you want to create a report using the SAP BW connector and connect into SAP BW environment and create a report. So for creating a simple report, first thing that we do is create a data source. So we right-click. Here is my bird designer, which allows me to do that. So I click a data source, and here we see once we deploy the connector, it automatically pops up, and you can see there is an SAP BW data source option here. And you also have options to define your config file. You can define the connection details into a config file, and you can use that as well. So here I'm going to directly connect by providing the credentials. So I do a next, and I provide the details of my SAP server which I'm going to connect to. So there is a port number which is pre-configured, which is 8002, and I give my username and password to connect into the SAP BW system. So once I give this, I just want to check the connection, which is successful, which is good. I do a finish, and here is my connector connected to SAP BW environment. So now what I need to do is I still need to bring the data out of the SAP BW. I'm just connected to my SAP environment. So the next step is to create a data set. So what data I want to bring out of SAP BW Cubes. So again, same, I do a right click, I create a new data set, and here I see the data source which I created earlier, which is reflecting here. And I just do a next, I select the data source, and here is what you see is the connector screen, which is the MDX query builder. So if you look at it, it is exactly the same how you see the bird designer tool. There is absolutely no change. The look and feel, the way graphics are designed, it's pretty much exactly the same. So now this interface allows you to pull all the input cubes which are there in the SAP BW environment. And so it's already connected, so I just go down and click on the info provider and see what all cubes are available for me. So these are all live cubes that I have, the info cubes, in my SAP BW environment. So I just select one of those cubes to see what is there within that cube. So I go and see, I see multiple BEX queries which are designed already on that cube. So I select one of those queries, and here I see the dimensions and the key figures available from that BEX query. Now, the important point to note here is, if you look at the dimensions, there are hierarchies which are maintained. There is no loss of hierarchy. There is no flat structure. It's a hierarchical structure that we are talking about. And it's exactly the same as you will see in the BEX query analyzer as well. A lot of other tools, if you look at the other connectors which are available, they try to flatten the structure, so which doesn't give you the flavor of, you're going through the BEX query and analyzing the query in the hierarchy format. So this is a good differentiator that we have within the tool itself, which allows us to select the hierarchy which we want to. And then once we start building the query, we start building the various numbers, and we start selecting which column and rows which we want on our query. So here I go and select different members from different dimensions, and I go and select each of them. And if you notice, there are key figures already pulled in. And same thing, I click, do a right click, select the key figures which I want to. And if you notice on the axis front, there are multiple axes that I selected. Now here you can actually remove a particular axis. You can do a cross join. You can do a cross join on the set above or a set below. So again, these menus are context sensitive. So depending on which part of the row you are, which axis you are clicking on, it will allow you to select the appropriate options. So once you let's say if you want to remove this particular axis, you go ahead and remove this particular axis. So I just do say remove axis. So and there you go. So let's say if you want to create any orders in the query, you want to do an order by within the query. So here is an option where you can again go and do an order. So how do I do it? I just simply go to the key figures, I do a right click and select order, and here I can select what option do I want to order by. So I said okay, and then I can sort by ascending, descending, whichever order I want to do that. Now similarly, there are other options which the GUI provides. So like doing a simple filtration. I can define my filter, and I can give my filter condition, and then here you go. You have a filter available on your query itself. And similarly, you can provide the kinds of filter you want, greater than, less than, and you can give a value, what value you want to filter it on. And another thing that you would like to notice is the parameter checkbox. So what it does is it basically allows you to create report parameters directly from here. So what you do is just click on the parameter and do a checkbox. Click, and this will allow you to create a parameter value, report parameter value. So going to the other options on this GUI is basically the slice, where you can slice and various key figures and add new groups to that. So and similarly, a lot of SAP BW cubes will give you an option to, they will have variables which will be binded together on the cube itself. So if you look at the screen, I selected, there are 4 different SAP variables which are already defined. Some of them could be mandatory, some are parameters. And if you look at the include options, 3 are already checked. So what it means is, they will be automatically included when you are building the query. So I can go ahead and create a parameter. I can give a value to that, and there you go. So once I have defined all my permutation combinations to the query, here is my query which is ready made. So if you notice, there is a big change. So this graphical interface gives me a query which I created on the fly. Earlier, it used to be the other way around. I had to write all this code and run the query on the BW environment to see if the data is coming back or not. But here, I have the query ready-made built for me. So now I want to do is I want to run this query against the BW environment and bring back the data. So I click Finish. And here, I see the output column. So these are the output columns which I selected. And so here, if you see, there are other options as well, where I can again do filtration, computed column. If I want to create one, I can create my own computed column and give a value, and it will be reflected on my report. Similarly, same thing, parameters. So I can go and edit my parameters if I want to. I can create a new parameter here for my report also. So let's say I create a new parameter. I give a parameter name, and then I give data type, and I give a default value. So here is my new parameter getting created. So I can go and edit whatever I want to do. I can give a default value. So here I can define as many report parameters I want to. So once I say OK, So I'm ready to see the results. So here is an option for previewing the results. So I click preview results. So it is bringing back the data from SAP BW Cube directly. So if you look at it, so there are columns which are filled with data, which is again a cube data, which you see. And I can say OK. And there we go. So my data set is now ready for, I can create any kind of report that I want to. I can do a dashboarding report based on the data set that we created. Any kind of sample report that you already might have created the layout, and you just need to create the data for that. So I just pull the data set. Let's say I create a blank new report. I pull the data set onto my designer, and I just want to view it. So I just do a run. So here are my parameters that I created. I give the values and say finish, and see how quickly the data comes back in the form of a report. So since I did not do any designing stuff on this particular designer, so it's a very simple tabular report that you are seeing. But you can create any kind of high-end designer reports using the data. So if you notice how quickly the data came back from SAP BW, and this is live BW data that is coming back. So you can create any kind of report that you would like, and the advantage that it brings to the table is it's very, very seamless. As you saw, we deployed it. It doesn't give you any feel that you are going outside of BERT for connecting the SAP BW environment. So it's very, very easy to use. Okay, so coming back to the presentation again. So we'll talk about the advantages of using this connector. So there are several different business advantages. The return of investment is fairly quick. If you are looking to deploy and start building those reports, it's very easy to deploy and build. There are various options in terms of how native connectivity it can now provide, which was earlier not available. The business users can create any kind of analytical and reports for their power users and start building those dashboards. So what we saw just now on the demo, we'll quickly see it in an animation format. So we quickly see here is the BERT environment which wants to connect with SAP BW systems, and we provide the connectivity between the two of them. And we just open the SAP BW environment, list all the cubes, list all the dimensions, and based on the selection of the cube, and then we could quickly go and create our own query based on the selections that we just did and showed you. And once the result set is created, we run it against the BW environment to create the various reports and dashboards that we would like to see. So that's how simple it is. So just to talk about on the systems requirement, what do you need to get started with Actuate BERT and connecting with the SAP BW environment? You practically don't need anything. You don't need to buy anything, any extra hardware. Whatever you have will be sufficient for you to start running Actuate BERT with SAP BW. So primarily you just need the minimum memory of 102 MB, 512 MB RAM. Recommended is 1 GB if you have, and obviously you need a processor which is a Pentium-based processor. It works both on Windows and Linux, and it works on all the Actuate products, whether you are using ActuateOne or any Actuate designer tools. It also works on Eclipse open source as well. So if you are using Eclipse-based designers to create reports with SAP BW, you can easily do that. So there are several options for licensing, how you want to license this particular product. So number of licensing models available. So you can use a single server license, multiple server license, depending on the needs that you might have. And you can deploy it from your desktop. You can buy a developer license and run it against your SAP BW environment using a developer license. But when you're deploying it on Actuate iServer, or Actuate Hub, you would need a server license, which definitely help you for large number of users that you might have who would be looking at SAP data for reports. Again, from the support perspective, Yash will provide all the support around the connector. Yash, as Jeff mentioned, we are close associates in terms of partners. We work very closely with Actuate Professional Services in providing the support as well as the support services. And we also offer exclusive help desk support, which anyone who is buying the connector can call up our help desk, and we would be able to resolve any issues that they might have. So as we talked about user benefits, it is platform independent. GUI is very, very similar to Actuate Bird, as you all saw it. It provides functionality to create complex queries, and you can create and edit anytime, any number of times, and it will allow you to do that. It doesn't have any dependency on, and it doesn't require any SAP client environment to be installed on your system. So all you need is a designer, all you need is a connector, and you're ready to go to connect to SAP BW. Some of the business benefits, as I talked about, the quick return of investments. So as you saw how quickly you can deploy the connector and start building reports on SAP BW. Very intuitive. It takes less than 10 minutes to get started on the BW environment, creating various kinds of reports. You can combine both SAP and non-SAP data easily, and also if you want to use it extensively for creating your business processes data in terms of reporting and data analysis, you can create all the SAP-based functions using Bird. Okay, so coming to the end of the presentation, I'll talk a little bit about the information you can find about this connector on our Yash website. The links are given on the screen. So there are white papers, brochures, recorded demos. If you want a trial version, you can send a request, and we'll be happy to provide you trial version as well. So please make a note of the options that are available. This broadcast will be available on our website as well. So feel free to visit us again on the Yash website as well as on the Actuate website. This recorded demo would be available. And just to talk about SAP R3 connector as well. So we are launching SAP R3 connector, which also connects with SAP R3 data. So very soon you should be hearing from us on how do we connect with SAP R3 and create those reports. So if you have any questions, feel free to write in or email on info@yash.com or visit us at yash.com/actuate.